Hello, everyone. Happy Saturday. My microphone was muted, but I saw it before we started. Win. Crap. So I've had an interesting weekend so far, actually. Yesterday, I had a friend of mine from the military, from the Navy, nuclear power. When I was at the Enterprise, he stopped in to see me. He's my best friend from the military. So that was really, really great to see him. But we did talk politics. Microphone overrated streaming equipment. What about good old sign language? If only I could. That would be interesting, though. Be able to do that. Maybe I should hire someone to do sign for me on my stream. That'd be awesome. That would be way awesome. To be rolling in that much dough that I could hire a sign language interpreter for my stream. That would be the bomb. The bomb. Maybe someday. Someday. So yeah, he came down. I don't know. He got here about 6:30 or so, and we spent time mostly talking about politics, and so that was okay. He's of the kind of in the area of where he believes that fifth dimensional beings are basically controlling us, or at least watching us as an entertainment complex. The concept of like fifth dimensional beings having a quote tesseract, as in like at the Marvel world, where they can look in and see who experience a day in our lives or whatever. So it was difficult. I even told him, believing in this it's in a way nihilistic, and it makes it very difficult to have any real conversation in politics. Although eventually we kind of got through that a little bit and we got into policy a little bit. So it was still interesting, to have someone here, talk about believe that sort of a thing. But we did get into some policy, and again, I was talking about, like I do here, agrarianism and the harms that agrarianism has created, and war specifically. And he said that like the Aztecs and the Mayans died 35,000 years ago or whatever, kind of as a counter to the agrarianism point. I'm like, well, I didn't know for sure, but it didn't make sense to me because it kind of goes counter to everything I've learned so far. So that I couldn't counter it, but we'll go over that here in a little bit. And that was incorrect. Aztecs were basically killed by the Spanish in the 900s. In the 1500s, and the Mayans died in the 900 of the current era. Again, following the 12,000 years and agrarianism and the war and the slavery and the tribalism and stuff like that is a thing. We'll go over a few of those articles just to read it, because I didn't remember it, and it disturbed me because I couldn't give the answer for it. So we'll go over it so you guys have it too. But that was still good. He left about 11:30. That night because he had to go see his family further up north. But it was great to see him, great to have that conversation, because I don't get to have political conversations anywhere. I'm an introvert partially, but my family's completely conservative too, so that makes it difficult. And we're social distancing, isolating, all that sort of stuff. So it was nice, regardless of it's just good to hear someone. Well, it's not really good, but it's interesting to hear someone have that point of view and talk about this sort of stuff. Now, also to be fair, he just retired from the military, like 22 years. I think after he got done with his stint as he was a nuclear mechanic. I think he went into the officer corps to become an intelligence officer or something like that. So he's got a whole different perspective. But yeah, he retired recently, last 6 months or few years or whatever, so he decided to take a road trip and say hi. So that was good. Yeah, so that happened. So that was cool. So that was my Friday, and then today the wife commanded me to take the daughter and her friend to the lake. Annoying, but I gotta do it on occasion. So I went ahead and did that, and I was listening to a novel while I was there. So her and her friend go into the lake and swim and stuff. And I'm listening to this novel. It's a novel called F Day by one of the resource-based economy people. It's his kind of narration on how resource-based economy might come into being. So I was listening to that. But before we got to the lake, we stopped to get something. The girls wanted something to eat. ice cream specifically. And this is a place where my wife has some of her paintings, and I wanted one of those paintings. Let me go ahead and show you which one. Here it is. I saw it. She's got a bunch of these little plaques there with her paintings, and I saw this one, and I told her I wanted this one, so she brought it home. Can you see it? You can't see it. Oh, hold on. Here we go. There we go. There it is. Now you can see it. There you go. So it's Darth Vader here with kind of a rainbow behind it. So she brought this home for me. It's like, okay, I like this. It's pretty small. It's about a hand, about the size of a hand in height, something like that. I can show it to you here. Can't really see it so well because of the green screen effect, but there's a meme fitting this picture. Oh, if you can find it, go ahead and share it. Yeah, I kind of like of course, the LGBT thing here, and then Star Wars and stuff like that. So it was cool. So I've got this. And that was today. And today at the lake, it was like 0 humidity and 70 something. And so it was really, really nice. So I wasn't like super cranky having to be outside, and there's fucking people everywhere. There's a fucking sea of people at the lake. I mean, and we got there at like 10:30. So it was early, and I wasn't expecting that many people. It was just a fucking sea of people. Sea of people. It was crazy. But it was nice out. And it wasn't so bad. Oh, this one. Okay. I haven't seen this one yet. This is pretty cool. Yeah, I've seen a few memes like this, during Pride Month. They're all rainbow, and after that they go back to the black and the gray. Yeah, this is cool. And that's pretty much what it is. And it's just using identity politics for corporate profit. And of course that is highly problematic because people don't see through the sham of what they're doing. Cool. Neat. All right. So we'll start with the Mayans. I'm not gonna read this whole thing. I just want to go through it so people have the understanding that this is a thing, so that they have, so you guys have the knowledge of it, because I couldn't remember it, and it was important at the time for my conversation. But again, if you're saying like 35,000 years ago, prior to the rise of agrarianism, the Aztecs and the Mayans were a thing, and they're murdering each other, murdering people, and that sort of a thing. So we'll go through the Mayans first, because that's what I have here. Let me go change my title here. Learn how to design a web banner now. Adobe says so. I did. Well, I have Photoshop, and I can do stuff with it. I lack a creative. I lack creativity in that sort of thing. I could get the wife to do something. What specifically are you looking at? Are you looking at the my Twitch page? Is that what you're looking at? I could conscript her. I've considered it, but I lack Creative Cloud. I have it at work. I have Creative Cloud at work, so I do have access to it, so I could. I just like creativity in general that way. Like web, I could put a banner together as HTML. I could do that, assuming I had the other pieces that didn't require, just making a joke based on. Oh, okay, gotcha. Oh, okay, I see, I gotcha. I'm not so quick. Yeah, personally, I don't have it. I would kill to have Creative Cloud at home. Oh my God, you have no idea. Having Acrobat, which I use I use a bit at work, but I could use here. Having Photoshop, I would kill to have Photoshop at home, and Dreamweaver at home. Oh my God, dude. I use it at work, and I love it, and I can't have it here. And, I was thinking, like, when the lockdown started, could I come up with a decent argument to have the Adobe Cloud at home from work? And I haven't been able to come up with a good argument for it, especially when I had to bring my laptop at home. laptop, my work laptop home to do it. And I couldn't. Believe me, if I could, I would. Yeah, $60 a month. Yeah, exactly. It's not cheap. And, you know, however many hundreds per year for the Creative Cloud. It's just, you know, if my web business was doing more, I'd definitely do that just to have it. But it's not like, you know, it's super, super tiny, like one client. So it's, yeah, at some point, maybe I'll be able to afford it, but it is not this day. But at least I can use it at work if I need to. Okay, so ads. All right, so let's look at, we're gonna just read these two little parts really quickly to know about when the Aztecs and Mayan civilizations actually died. It was, you know, greater than 12,000 years ago, the rise of agrarianism, post-Neolithic era, so that you guys have it. I don't do much creative stuff, so I look out for free alternatives. GIMP. Yeah, the problem for me, I have GIMP, but just learning how to use the UI is so fucking frustrating. When I've been using Photoshop for like 17 years, some shit. Just making that change. I tried using it here at home just to do some things. Oh my God, I was just enraged because it's the UI is so different from Photoshop, and I just couldn't figure out how to do the things in, you know, in GIMP that I could do easily in Photoshop. It's frustrating. Another reason to fucking open source all the things. Dreamweaver open source, Adobe open source, Photoshop open source, so that everyone can have good stuff. Fuck this proprietary bullshit. Yay GIMP, open source rules, but ugh. All right, here we go. So we'll go into this really quick. Mysterious decline of the Maya from the late. Well, let me actually go ahead and share this because I'm supposed to. Back over here. From the late 8th through the end of the 9th century, something unknown happened to shake the Maya civilization to its foundations. One by one, the classic cities in the southern lowlands were abandoned, and by AD CE, so it'd be CE, 900 CE, Maya civilization in that region had collapsed. The reason for this mysterious decline is unknown, though scholars have developed several competing theories. Sharing is caring, exactly. Some believe that by the 9th century, the Maya had exhausted the environment around them to the point that it could no longer sustain a very large population. Other Maya scholars argued that constant warfare among competing city-states led the complicated military, family by marriage, and trade alliances between them break down, along with the traditional system of dynastic power. As the stature of the Holy Lords diminished, their complex traditions of rituals and ceremonies dissolved into chaos. Finally, some catastrophic environmental change, like an extremely long, intense period of drought, may have wiped out the classic Maya civilization. Drought would have hit cities like Tikal, where rainwater was necessary for drinking as well as for crop irrigation, especially hard. All three of these factors, overpopulation and overuse of the land, endemic warfare, and drought, may have played a part in the downfall of the Maya in the southern lowlands. In the highlands of the Yucatan, a few Maya cities such as Chichen Itza, Uxmal, and Mayapan continued to flourish in the post-classic period, 900 to 1500 CE. Okay. By the time the Spanish invaders had arrived, however, most Maya were living in agricultural villages, their great cities buried under a layer of rainforest green. Okay, so yeah, so from this, the majority of the Mayan civilization collapsed 900 CE, and there are remnants of it in the Yucatan, in Mexico, in that lower area. Yeah, so again, greater than 12,000 greater than 12,000 years ago. So it's 900 in the Common Era. All right, so that is the Mayans. Now here is the Aztecs. All right. Okay, God. Battle of Tenochtitlán. This is from Britannica. The Battle of Tenochtitlán, May 22nd to August 13th, 1521. Again, this is 1521, recently, last 500 years. Military engagement between the Aztecs and the coalition of Spanish and indigenous combatants. Spanish conquistadors, commanded by Hernan Cortez, allied with local tribes to conquer the Aztec capital city of Tenochtitlan. Cortez's army besieged Tenochtitlan for 93 days, and a combination of superior weaponry and a devastating smallpox outbreak enabled the Spanish to conquer this city. Cortez's victory destroyed the Aztec Empire, and the Spanish began to consolidate control over what became the colony of New Spain. Okay, so there you go. The Aztecs destroyed by the Spanish in the 1500s, and the Mayans fell apart in 900 of this era. All right, so there you go. In case anyone says something about that they were pre-Neolithic, or they were Neolithic, not a thing. Let's go that one down. All right. Questions, comments, suggestions on that thought? Again, it was talking about the rise of tribalism and war in humanity. It really became a major thing following the rise of agrarianism. So farming allowed large cities, large tribes and towns and cities to exist, therefore creating a competition for resources and that sort of thing, which brought the rise of war, poverty, suffering, all the horrible things that we have here in humanity. Okay, so we're gonna move on to, we have like 2 things here for climate. We'll do those. Yep. And then we'll move on. Then we'll have some other stuff. All right, so if you haven't seen this, I've seen a whole bunch of this on Twitter. Gas leak responsible for eye of fire in Mexican waters, says oil company. Now, look, go and take a look at this. The ocean is on fire, but capitalism is clearly the best system. Exactly. This is, and we were, and last night, that's kind of what we were arguing about. Getting beyond capitalism can't work. Portal to fucking hell. Yeah, and I've seen a meme saying that the portal to hell closed once what's his face died? Kissinger died. So this is just a remnant of Kissinger being taken to hell. So that's nothing to worry about. It's not capitalism. It's Henry Kissinger being claimed by the devil. All right. So we can move on. All right. Blaze on the surface of the Gulf of Mexico resembling a large eye of fire has been brought under control according to Mexico's state oil company Pemex. Oh. Wait, what? You don't get to tell me to wait. This is my stream, damn it. What you got? Kissinger? No, who died? Kissinger died, isn't it right? Yeah, here. Oh, fuck me. Did I? I thought, oh my god, okay, I don't read very well. Oh my god, am I fucking with everyone? Rumsfeld, Donald Rumsfeld. Okay, there we go. I'm sorry, guys. Donald Rumsfeld died. Okay, let's verify this because I'm an idiot. Both the same. That would be awesome. Okay, did he die? Donald Rumsfeld dies. Okay, so it's Donald Rumsfeld. Okay, there we go. I'm sorry, I messed it all up. So yes, the gates to hell closed following the death of Donald Rumsfeld. There we go. There we go. I'm sorry, stream is judging you. That's okay. It's appropriate. It is appropriate. I'm here to educate, not deceive. Thanks for the correction, Quiet Mercenary. I appreciate that. How you doing today? Fuck. I just fucked that all up. My apologies. Stream. My apologies. Okay, so this is from the state oil company, Pemex. Okay, so they fucked up. Now, I wonder why they fucked up. Now, obviously, capitalism is to blame here, but why? Orange flames resembling molten lava were pictured on social media and dubbed an eye of fire on social media because of the blaze's circular shape as it raged a short distance from a Pemex oil platform. In a statement, Pemex said the fire blamed on a gas leak from an underwater pipeline. Happened 5:15 a.m. local time off the coast of Campeche. The fire, which was close to an oil platform, was put out by 10:45 a.m. Jesus, 5 hours. Local time, and no injuries or evacuations of the facility have been reported. Okay. Imagine this has got to be good for the ocean, right? You got to get your daily dose of hydrocarbons, right? I mean, that's the thing, right? Right? Pemex said an investigation has been launched into the incident. Angel Carrizales, head of Mexico's oil safety regulator, ASEA, wrote on Twitter that the incident did not generate any spill. That's reassuring. According to Reuters news agency, but did not explain what was burning on the water's surface. Pemex, which has a long record of major industrial accidents at its facilities, said it would investigate the cause of the fire and said it shut the valves of the 12-inch diameter pipeline, Reuters added. Okay, so fuck. Yes, exactly. If there was no spill, exactly. Okay, so what was it burning? Is this the spontaneous combustion of the eukaryotes and plankton in there? I mean, okay. So this is a thing. So you know, when was this? This is from today. But I think this happened yesterday. This happened yesterday. I think it happened yesterday. So it's a thing. Yay capitalism. Yay sustainable energy. I mean, fossil fuels. Good stuff there, right? Ugh. Surely we can do better. Right? Can, right? I mean, that's the thing. Ugh. All right. Oh, who's this? This is some more positive stuff here. We do positive stuff here, right? Bunch of feel good stuff. Shared it. All right. Life-threatening heat wave, 33 million under emergency heat alerts. It's bigger so we can see it. This is peak humanity. Obviously, vote blue next election for even better results. Right? It's been such a great thing so far, right? Vote blue no matter who. Vote blue no matter who. Gotta love the oligarchy. The one-party system. It's the best ever. It was my lovely doctor wife who leaned over to me and said, "Did you know scores of people in Canada are dead because of the heat?" Near Vancouver, suffering a severe case of brain fog thanks to being in a pandemic for over a year and counting now, I was tuned out. I replied absently, and then I woke up suddenly hearing the words, wait, what? Canada's not exactly a place you associate with people dead from the heat, yet it's a grim tale of what's to come. This isn't a heat wave, it is a dying planet. Yep, pretty much. Much of the Pacific Northwest is trapped under what climate scientists are calling a heat dome. It stretches up and down the coast. Temperatures have rocketed off the charts. It was 115 degrees in Portland, Oregon. That's hotter than Cairo, Egypt, or Karachi, Pakistan. Holy fuck. This is a region of the world that should be temperate and cool. Yep. Not boiling hot, but it's trapped under a heat dome, which is a huge region of high pressure that creates an effect literally akin to a pressure cooker. Yesterday's heat waves A few days of higher than normal temperatures are giving way to heat domes, something much more catastrophic as the planet warms beyond all recognition in ways profoundly hostile to us. Actually, I don't know that article that I wanted to go over. There we go. Let's go over here. Why do I say dangerous? Well, what is life under extreme heat like? The day before, I'd read an article about the hottest place on Earth, which is Jacobabad in Pakistan. It claims that title because the average temperatures go beyond 52 degrees Celsius, which I don't know what that is. Remember, the heat dome in the Pacific Northwest has already pushed temperatures there almost within striking distance of that. 115 Fahrenheit is 46 degrees Celsius. Okay. Portland and Seattle reach temperatures that are approaching the hottest city on Earth. That can't be a coincidence, can it be, chat? Why could that be? Too many people barbecuing? That's climate change, or far more accurately put, global warming. We are beginning to be boiled alive. Much like the frogs, right? Frogs you put into a pot and you slowly heat it up, they never have a clue. If you think that's an exaggeration, consider life in Jacobabad. People don't leave the house much when it's that hot. They stay inside, trying to stay cool however they can. Business, commerce, trade, social events, all these things come to a halt. What does that sound like to you? Sounds a lot like lockdown. If you want to understand what the world will look like in a few years or decades, the last year is grimly a very good guide. Where's this going to? Okay, well, all right, well, it's not gonna let me take a look. Not gonna let me click on it. All right, well, screw you then. Extreme heat is a lot like pandemic lockdown because these are both catastrophes that are on the verge of being unsurvivable. Jacobabad broils for months. Portland and Vancouver and Seattle's heat dome will go away, but that's a distinction without much of a difference because chances are the heat dome will be back next year for longer, and so too the year after that. This is what living on a planet that's heating rapidly is. Hit Germany was so cold, now it seems we have southern France temperatures in just 20 years away. Yeah, oh yeah, exactly, totally not worth, yeah. And that's, I've talked about this before, that we've read an article or two on this talking about the migration of the climate, of the zones, the climate zones. It's gonna move further north and north and north until there's obviously no snow anywhere, and the tropical weather is going to move up to like where Southern America is, although there won't be much tropical weather because there won't be much actual water because everything's going to be so fucking dry and burning. Heat record after heat record, wonder if there's some pattern. Yeah, I wonder if there is. Does anyone have any links on that potential pattern or something like that? I don't know what's going on here. I'm so confused. Must be the plastic straws. That's the plastic straws causing COVID and windmill cancer, right? Well, we should stop using them, right? But yeah, that's, again, we've talked about that before. You're destroying our planet. Yeah, we've talked about that before, right? The shifting of the issues, what's causing, shifting the cause of climate change to the people instead of the individuals, the 1%, the 99% instead of the 1%. Yeah, we should all buy a Tesla to solve climate change. Well, it will help, but not in the level in which it's actually going to matter. Like there's the article we've gone over, right? It's the 1%, the top 20% or whatever that is the primary, top 10% that are the primary causes of the of pollution and that sort of a thing. Yeah, less than public transport. Yeah, definitely. We definitely need that. That's a huge thing. Need to redesign our cities from the ground up. Urban transportation, mass transportation, creating their own food, vertical farms, sustainable energy, and all that sort of crap. Again, when we're looking at Congress, oh yeah, the top 1% makes yes, exactly, over 50% pollution. I don't know if I've got an article there somewhere talking about that, but it's so important to know and to really shift the conversation from like you're talking about the straw issue and individual responsibility to the people who actually are doing it. Eat the rich is an effective manner to solve climate change. True statement. I will advocate that. Eat them. You gotta cook them right because they are pretty fucking gamey. All right. What happens when Jacob Bad gets even hotter? What happens as the Pacific Northwest experiences heat domes for longer, more frequently? For that, you need to understand the notion of wet bulb temperature. Okay, it accounts for heat stress to living things. When you cover a thermometer with a wet cloth, you record the temperature at which sweat cools the body with evaporation. Here's how climate scientist Simon Lewis puts it. Humans cannot survive prolonged exposure to a wet bulb temperature beyond 35 degrees Celsius because there's no way to cool our bodies, not even in the shade, not even with unlimited water. Okay. Electoral politics to solve climate change is climate denialism at this point. Sorry, Liz. Yeah, I mean, I'm never going to go against, obviously, electoralism, but because that's my policies and all that. But yeah, it's hard to see that voting is going to make any actual rapid change. And that's like when the Amazon was on fire, as I've said this before, I've considered giving up politics because what's the fucking point? And it's trying not to give in to nihilism is so difficult because of how fucked things are and how much we're all going to, well, our generation, next generation aren't going to fucking die completely to climate change, but it is coming. It's coming. The end of humanity is coming in the next few hundred years in all life on Earth. I mean, and voting for the answer, much like we're seeing with the the Democrats, right? Like we've talked about the policies. If you're not talking $10 trillion for any sort of infrastructure bill, you're just putting a band-aid on human extinction. We gotta have 8 years in the US. We have fascists and fascists in Germany. We have fascists and libs that still believe in capitalism. What could go wrong? We have nothing to lose. Only planet Earth. Yeah, and that's it. They don't care because, again, we talk about this, the sociopathy of inequality. They don't care because there's no way to profit from it. That is the disease. It's that tension within methods of exchange, right? Which I keep whoring here. Should I tell all you bastards to read? I'm gonna go get it. So share it because I need to keep sharing it till my fingers bleed. Till my fingers bleed. Read it, share it, talk about it. Important. Okay, did you get that? Beyond 95 degrees Fahrenheit, which is what 35 degrees Celsius is at 100% humidity, you're dead. Fast. Bang. You can't cool yourself. You go into organ failure and literally boil alive from the inside as your proteins denature. You can thank my doctor wife for that lovely description. And that's why I say in my policies, right? If we don't spend literally trillions, if you're not talking $10 trillion in basically a Green New Deal to combat climate change, we're fucked. We have to have a war on climate change, a war that meets the severity of the climate crisis that we're facing. The sixth greatest extinction is upon us, and every single fucking government in the world is effectively voting for human extinction because that's where the profits are. Fuck. Now that wet bulb temperature has only been reached, and a part of this, right, we're talking about temperature and humidity and people dying because of climate change, right? And that's part of the infrastructure is, I would like to see, is building underground. Putting, buildings underground, or at least covered with earth. You got that, the earth acting as an insulator and lowering the temperature and that sort of a thing. And you talk about building up and building down. We got earth scrapers, right? So that's one way we can do that. Start building earth scrapers beneath the ground, take advantage of the coolness to keep people cool under the ground. Lots of things we can do, but it requires trillions and trillions of dollars right now to help save humanity from extinction. Now that wet bulb temperature has been reached in a few places for a few hours so far, but we are now experiencing dramatic, massive warming as a globe. Warming which only, frankly, extremists and idiots can go on denying. Oh, yeah, my friend, he's amazing. We have a lot of fun together. I have not laughed that much in a very long time, being an introvert and all that. But he was talking about the solar, what the fuck, the solar cycle. He didn't go into too much detail, but effectively, he doesn't believe so much in climate change. It's just part of the natural cycle, and it's just like, natural cycle of the sun and that sort of thing. And I've heard that argument, and it's fucking ridiculous. Like, and just like, well, come on, dude. Here, look, I XKCD. Right here, this fucking graph. It's like solar storms or whatever cycles cannot explain this fucking graph. Right here. It's gradual. Oh, it's going fast. Yep, gradual. But it's all very gradual, fast, gradual. And then, wait, here comes, gradual. Oh, holy fuck. Industrial Revolution, and it goes hyperbolic. I love this graph too. It's so fucking amazing. It's like, how can you explain this with a fucking solar flare or any solar storm or anything like that? It's not this fucking thing right here is nowhere in here. Nowhere in here. No, how do you? It's enraging. I'll go and share this here in case you guys want to take a look at this graph. That seems natural, right? Okay, so warming which only, frankly, extremists and idiots can go on denying. You have only to think about how much hotter summer's gotten wherever you are to literally feel how much our planet's heating. We're going to cross that line. Nobody can say for sure when, but what we can say is that we're heading towards it at light speed, faster than anyone thinks. Portland and Vancouver being as hot as the hottest places on the earth. Yeah, and I talk about that here, right? That scientists have predictions of when certain thresholds or whatever are going to be met, and they're so far off, like it's happening 50 years, 70 years, 90 years earlier than they expect it to. I mean, we don't have a reasonable way of actually determining when this hellscape is going to be upon us. And that's part of the problem. And they don't have a viable way of determining how this all works because we don't have, the supercomputers available. Yeah, and that's also what's even more scary is because their off predictions have the end of humanity farther off, but it's happening, a century earlier. I say 300 years, all life on this planet will be gone by my estimation based off, whatever. But it could be sooner, because we're already hitting, like we're talking here, this almost, a few cities have reached the hottest temperatures on the planet. Well, maybe the next few years, that's going to be more than 2 cities. Well, I am. And I started amending it to kind of say 300 to 500 years to be optimistic. But I think 300 years is fairly... Maybe it is 200, 300 years. I don't know. I am being optimistic, right? By 300 years, there should effectively be no life on this planet. 150 at best? Could very well be. And I don't know. We do doomerism here. I know this channel isn't for everyone for a lot of reasons. But, yeah, it's bleak. It's very bleak. And Congress and most of the countries in the world are just like, we're making profit. It's all good, yo. As we cross the wet bulb threshold of about 35 degrees Celsius, places simply become unlivable. Lewis says something truly terrifying is emerging, the creation of unlivable heat. Having kids in this fucked up economy makes no sense anymore. Yeah, and I know, there's articles on this sort of a thing, and millennials and stuff don't want to have children. I had a friend of mine's sister, 20 years ago, saying she didn't want to bring kids into this world because of how fucked it is. And this is before climate change and all that sort of stuff. Just crime and war and all that sort of bullshit. And now it's even worse than that. And again, to help keep people from dying, we need to change our urban infrastructure. We need to really be looking at this seriously. Otherwise, millions and millions and millions are going to die. And this is not, in the next 50 years, that's what's going to happen. Not just by virtue of heat, but because of the refugees and the wars and the violence that will come out of that. Welcome to planet Earth. You could be the last generation alive. Enjoy your stay in misery. Exactly. That's pretty much exactly it. You know, part of the reason why it's such a deal for me is I have a daughter. She's 12. And as I've been saying here, right? Our children and our children's children are gonna know the greatest horrors humanity has ever seen. It's not going to be pleasant. And that's partly why I'm here streaming and I have my policy site and my blog and I write about this stuff and I'm talking to people. Yeah, 12 is still very young. Yep. And I'm educating her on politics and we're talking about this stuff so she understands, so that, you know, I'm not expecting her to be a, you know, I in no way have the expectation that she is going to do anything that I do, right? I'm not going to be that 1950s, you're going to pick up the family business or that stupid bullshit, right? So if she turns out to be an activist, awesome. If not, you know, you do you, boo. It's your life, right? I'm not telling you what to do, but it's important that I believe it's important for me as a parent and someone who's politically aware to ensure that my daughter, my children understand what's going on in the world, so that they know what fucking shitstorm they're inheriting. You know, it's hard to make effective decisions about your future if you don't have a fucking clue what's going on, which is obviously what, you know, the 1% wants through our education system and gutting it. And the media and all this fucking bullshit. So I'm trying to do my part. I'm trying to do my part, man. What happens when we cross that line? Well, you might think I'll just run my AC harder. Zzz, wrong. AC needs lower humidity to work well, and the more humid conditions get, the harder they need to work. Meanwhile, the harder you work your AC, the more the power grid is stressed by demand, unable to cope, will crash regularly, just as it does in Jacobabad or did in Portland and Vancouver. Exactly, and this is why, again, we need to work on more passive methods of cooling, covering our buildings with dirt, and there are other ways of passively cooling stuff, but we need to be working on that stuff because of exactly what they're talking about. Fascinating part of radicalizing someone into the left, they will most likely stay. If they see systemic issues once, it's hard to unsee. Yep. To unsee. Yep. Or rather, they connect all the systems. Yeah, and that's exactly right. And that's why I'm doing this. It's, you know, it's when they're young, it's hard to really put it all together. But once you start seeing the systemic and structural issues, murdering people for fun and profit, it's hard to undo that. It's really, really. Hold on a second. My daughter was just commenting that she was hearing me talk about her. Ears must have been burning. Guess that wasn't climate change. Okay, yeah, so this is why, again, this is very much why we need infrastructure change, because this shit is going to be devastating. People are going to die because of it. We don't have a technology that's going to allow us to live comfortably on a boiling planet. I know that you might think we do because, like me, you're used to the luxury of air-conditioned bliss. The truth is that technology only works in a profoundly narrow range of environmental conditions, maybe from 500 to 100 degrees Fahrenheit with relatively low humidity. We aren't going to be able to air-condition our way out of being boiled alive. I'm still in disbelief. I was so delusional I believed capitalism once. Hey, no. We were all normies. We were all normies at one point, right? What matters, I was too, 15 years ago. What's important is that you've crossed the threshold into the radical domestic terrorist left. Getting here is what matters. Now, when I've talked about this in my policies too. Specifically, what I say in my policies is that we really need to be looking at how we can survive on Venus, because those are the technologies we are going to need on this planet. Because, okay, let me just fucking open it up because this is important. And this is how far ahead I'm looking at, and I'm thinking about how we save humanity from extinction. Let's look at Venus here. Okay, so here's the meme I made, right? Human pollution and ecocide leading to the violent world of Mad Max, right? We've seen that a little bit in Australia when they had the fires. fighting for water, and we're gonna end up here. Our planet is gonna end up like Venus, the acid rain, the sulfuric acid rain planet of high pressure, climate change, and all that sort of stuff. And we need to be looking, right? Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so there's that. Okay, yeah, so here. As in addition to the above section, we also want to look at urban construction and designs that might work in an environment similar to the planet Venus, because that is the sort of environment we are heading for, especially because of the the powerful recent events, right? I talk about this. So this is really the scope and the scale that we need to be looking at our technological infrastructure. Can this infrastructure last in Venus? Obviously, it's not going to get that bad this soon, from the temperature and the pressure and the acid rain area, but we need to be thinking about that. And then we need to start building whole new cities based on this sort of technology. Surviving in Venus, because that is what is coming. That is what is going to happen. Preparing for Mad Max in Venus. It's a very comforting time. Yeah, I'm not here to fuck around. I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to make change, and shaking people out of this, of their delusions of, lacking, climate change isn't a thing, is important. That's why I made this, where is it? That's why I made this, because this is where we're heading. I'll go ahead and share my policy here, just if you want to take a look at it. Once I'm happy, if I don't get old, right? Well, we will get old, but we're gonna hopefully not experience. We're not gonna experience the greatest horrors in our generation. Well, you might, because you're fucking young. You're still in college. Yeah, I'm old. I'm fucking old. Yeah. And so hopefully you'll be okay. But it's like my daughter's generation, and after, they're the ones that are gonna be 21. You're quite old too. You're just a baby. Just a baby. You could be my child. I'm 47. Yeah, you could be. I'd be 30. I can't do math, can I? 26. I'd be 26 when I had you. You could be my kid. So young. So young. Yeah, we had this once. My dad is actually younger. Oh, yeah, that's right. We have. Yep. Yeah, I had a child pretty late. I was in my, I think 32. We had Ula. Yeah, 32. Pretty late. Okay, so yes, we need to prepare for Venus. All right, instead, entire regions of the planet will simply become, as Lewis says, unlivable. Some places will suffer regular heat domes. Some, like Jacobabad, will just be too hot, period, year round. And some will have a drier heat that produces mega fires over and over again. Yep, this is a huge part of that problem. Again, shit will start going on fire because of these heat domes, the temperature increases, and that will, of course, create this autocatalytic effect of putting more carbon dioxide into the air, which will further increase the climate change. You're 47? I thought 35. Oh, marry me. I wish. I fucking wish. Oh, to be 35 again. Oh, that would be an amazing thing. That would be amazing. Thank you, though. I appreciate that. Yeah, no, I think I got married at 32. You're 31? Lucky fuckers, both of you. So young! I couldn't quite be your father. I am not your father. So I would be 16? I could be. Although that would be kind of young. Yeah, I wish I was 35. My body would be in a lot better shape than it is now. Because I'm falling apart slowly. It's getting old sucks. Don't ever hit 40. 40, that's a fucking wall of the death spiral there. No, actually do hit 40 because living kind of important. At least you're young at heart. Gotta keep the revolutionary power up. Boom! That's right. Someone's gotta do it. Because my family and my friends sure as hell aren't doing it. I'm the black sheep. Gotta have one. All right. Those places are also going to be a lot more numerous than we think. All those air-conditioned glass towers in Miami, good luck with that as the planet warms. All those steel and glass luxury skyscrapers in Manhattan, have fun with the power grid that needs more juice than the entire East Coast can supply. Again, if we go to earth scrapers going down below, creating skyscrapers that go down, in the earth, we can also with that tap into geothermal energy, and also heating and cooling from the ground as well. There's a lot of benefit to being beneath the ground. And honestly, in any place that doesn't do this sort of a thing, start going underground, I mean, that's the only real hope that humanity has for surviving. Getting crap loads of earth scrapers underground, the survival bunkers with the vertical farms and all that sort of stuff going on. That's what we need to be doing. What happens as a place becomes unlivable? Massive levels of disruption do. That's right. Violence, war, refugees. It's going to be horrific. People have already fled Jacobabad. As human capital flight ensues, disruptions happen on 3 levels. The place people are fleeing from gets poorer and more unstable. The place they're fleeing to usually doesn't want them there, especially if they're coming with nothing. Again, so we're looking at this is kind of pointing to the systemic and structural racism inherent in capitalism and the United States and the West's foreign policy. These places that they're talking about, they're poor. These climate refugees don't have education. I don't want to say they don't have education because that's kind of messed in the head. But a lot of these places where there's climate refugees, they're places that are second and third world countries where they may not have education, or they may not have, can't bring anything with them, obviously, because they're living in a hellscape, and it's not getting any better. And it's going to stress our cities and all the supplies because we're not doing anything to prevent the problem nor to prepare for the oncoming refugees. And that's what I say in my policies. We have to start preparing for the refugees to come, because they're gonna fucking come. Because of the systemic and structural racism inherent in our foreign policy, the raping of all these countries for their resources, right? Africa's not poor, India's not poor, blah, blah, blah. We just keep stealing all their stuff. Had we not done that, then we might not be dealing with the refugee issues so much. This is a self-inflicted, self-created problem by the West. Why would we care about that? It's great for stockholders, right? And they will be coming with nothing, all these climate refugees and migrants, because, well, most of us have just one real asset. If we're lucky, that's our homes. If you have to leave a place because it's gotten too hot to live there, nobody's buying your home. It's worthless. Congratulations, now you're something like a war refugee, fleeing with the clothes on your back and the money you can take with you. Well, yeah, war refugee. You're a climate change, a climate war refugee. As societies face these kinds of obstacles, they tend to destabilize. Imagine that. Let's talk about another effect. We read about the Mayans, the Mayans, right? They collapsed because of climate stuff, right? Potentially. As societies face these kind of obstacles, they tend to destabilize. Let's talk about another effect of extreme heat and warming for a moment. The mega drought the American West faces. Right about now, most of us are pretending that it isn't a big deal. That's because there are still a few meager resources left to tap. But once what's left of the water is gone, it's gone for good. How are cities like Las Vegas and Los Angeles going to survive? The classic pattern goes like this. The rural hinterlands suffer the effects of the drought and famine first, and then it creeps inwards towards richer, more developed urban centers. Exactly. And again, where am I doing, man? Welcome. We're talking doomer stuff like we normally do. And again, this is going to be another benefit of building down under the ground, keeping the water and the humidity there, the water and the humidity down below the ground, and keep it from evaporating. Without the water, humanity is fucked. And if we don't act quickly to deal with this, well, guess what? We're fucked. Right about now, the West's mega drought is felt in California. California's once lush farming valleys, but as it spreads east and west like a cancer, as it's sure to do, what then? Then bang, catastrophe. There's another whole category of refugees you might never have considered. Not people fleeing from extreme heat, but people fleeing for fresh water. What do we even call these new categories of migrants and refugees? We don't even have names for them, and yet these changes are already upon us, and that's the point. I decided to watch soccer, football. It was the most boring soccer football. England 4-0 Ukraine. Typical boring football from England. Yeah, my wife doesn't mind watching soccer, but I never got into it. The only thing I've watched, the only thing I will watch, well, I can't say that. I'll watch the Green Bay Packers in American football play. Or I might watch pool, billiards, or tennis. That's pretty much it. But I haven't watched any of that stuff in years, honestly. Like last year, I didn't watch anything. The year before that, I had 3 Green Bay Packer games, and that's it. Like years ago, my dad and I were playing tennis. Oh, God, for years. I did a lot of that and played racquetball too after that, which is amazing. Such a great workout. But I haven't done any of that stuff in a very, very long time. Sorry, your time was almost wasted. We are now living on a dying planet. It's not dying in an ultimate and final sense because the Earth will be here for, thousands and thousands of years, billions of years if not. But life on the planet will probably go away. Anyways, although there's still some chance we end up with a cycle of runaway warming so severe we end up like Venus, boom! We're living on a dying planet in the sense that it's heating up incredibly fast, faster than it has for hundreds of millions of years, quite possibly the fastest it's ever heated up. We've already gone over that, the XKCD temperature thing, right? So, yeah. And as the planet continues warming faster and faster, living things are going to die. Lots and lots of them, trillions upon trillions of them. Trees, insects, animals, fish, rivers, oceans, animals, fish, rivers, oceans, skies, if you think of those as living things too, and us. Every England's match is boring as fuck. I'm surprised that they scored 4. Every match, 1 to 2 goals, like sheep grazing in the field. Really? Wow. Well, that speaks to how good they are as a team, I suppose. Good for them. That just means obviously the opponents have to up their game. What's certain not to survive is this way of life. We can't use the technologies we have now to fight the existential threats already on our doorstep. You can't air condition your way out of a boiling planet. We can't use the cultural mores, values, norms, institutions we have now to fight them either. Materialism, greed, selfishness, carelessness, indifference, and so on. Holy fuck, that's exactly right. My policies, right? Part 1, philosophical foundations. That is exactly right. We have to change our values to value things, value human existence in the natural world, or nothing is going to change. And that's exactly right. We need to change our values first, or nothing's going to change. Again, I'm going to throw this at you. 8 philosophical pillars for peace. It is important, and it is the cornerstone for kind of that change. Again, when we talk about this, the tension within methods of exchange, right? The values we have comes from monetary systems, capitalism. The only value system we have as a globalized civilization is profit, no matter the cost. And that's where we get all of this. I just spent a freaking 90 minutes. It's like a long, boring sex without any. Oh, God. No climax, huh? Yeah, this definitely sounds like it. Hopefully the rest of your Saturday goes better. Well, actually, it's late at night. It's almost midnight over there, isn't it? Well, your day. So fuck that. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's midnight there in Moscow, right? I think it's 8 hours there and 9 hours to Belarus. Oh, it depends on where. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so well, I hope your Sunday goes better. Okay, yeah, 03. Yeah, I've got 03 here too. Yeah, good. Yes, better Saturday. Where does that leave us? You probably already suspect my answer. This isn't a heat wave, it's a dying planet. Our civilization is now beginning to collapse when Portland and Seattle are almost as hot as Jacobabad, the hottest place on Earth, which itself is becoming so hot that soon it will literally be unsurvivable. Then, my friends, we are a civilization that has literally cooked itself alive. In the combustion and fumes of its own addiction to exploitation, true statement, stuff, toys, hate, rage, and all the ways we try to escape from our own demons of loneliness, despair, ignorance, and powerlessness. We are living on a dying planet. I guess the question is, who gets to survive? Great fucking article. Nobody. Great article. Holy fuck balls. A 7-minute read? What? That's not a fucking 7-minute read. Lies. Lies. All right, so there you go. That's some uplifting stuff. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope it made your day better. There's another one to. This is the last one on this doomer. Doomerism here. And then we'll move on to other stuff. Other exciting stuff. All right. Ground temperatures hit 118 degrees in the Arctic Circle. The ongoing climate crisis is not going to spare Siberia. Yeah, and then we've looked at, of course, last year, the Arctic was on fire, Siberia was on fire, another ocean on fire. It's coming to an ocean near you, right? California was on fire. A whole bunch of Australia was on fire. All the things were on fire. Let's expand this. So Siberia. Okay, this is the Arctic Circle. So this is the top down. So this is the Arctic Circle here, and then going into Russia up here. Ground temperatures across Siberia reached record heights during the region's heat wave. Now, I read one that said 60, like 64. Yeah, this is Russia. Jesus. Newly published satellite imagery shows the ground temperatures in at least one location in Siberia topped 118 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 48 degrees Celsius, going into the year's longest day. It's hot Earth summer, and it certainly won't be the last. Hot as hell, yeah. Yeah, and it's, yeah. Sorry to be so doomer here, guys, but, this is what we're faced with. While many heads swiveled to the American West as cities like Phoenix, Salt Lake City suffered shockingly hot temperatures this past week, which we already covered. A similar climatological aberrance unfolded on the opposite side of the world in the Arctic Circle. That's not bizarre when you consider that the planet's heating up is a global affair, one that isn't picky about its targets. We're all the target. Yeah, climate don't give a fuck about your social status or your degrees. We're fine. We're gonna be fine. Everything's gonna be fucking fine. Just fine. 785 died in Canada because I had an article on that, but I wasn't gonna cover it. I don't know if it's that large. It might very well be. I thought it was less than that. Okay, let's take a look. I thought it was in the 60s. How many died? Yeah, here we've got dozens. Fuck off, BBC. Dozens dead as heat wave shatters records. What does it say? Okay, 130 sudden deaths. Okay, so it's not quite, almost 800. I have 130 deaths here. Yeah, and that's the way it's going to be because they're not going to have heat, or they're not going to have air conditioning and stuff like that. They don't have the ability to. I mean, they have comorbidities, not comorbidities. They have mitigating factors that help to keep them from taking care of themselves, and that's highly problematic. So this one says 185. Not quite that bad yet, possibly. But it's going to get worse, as we're saying here. Okay, the 118 degree Fahrenheit temperature was measured on the ground in, oh my god, Verkhojansk in Yakutia, eastern Siberia, by the European Space Agency's Copernicus Sentinel satellites. Other ground temperatures in the region included 109 degrees Fahrenheit, 43 degrees Celsius in Govorovo, and 98 degrees Fahrenheit, 37 degrees Celsius in Saskila, which had its highest temperatures since 1936. It's freaking Russian TV. I was caught as a cheapie. Okay. It could be. That's just that's just one article I poked up. I don't think it's quite that high yet, but it could be. The air temperature in Verkhojansk was 86 degrees Fahrenheit, 30 degrees Celsius. Still anomalously hot, but not Arizona hot. Okay, melting Alaskan permafrost in 2019. That's what this picture is. Yeah, the melting of the permafrost is a big fucking deal. It's going to unleash bacteria and viruses and all sorts of other horrors that have been sleeping there for millions of years or thousands of years. But the ground temperature being so warm is still very bad. Those temperatures beleaguer the permafrost, the frozen soil of yore, which holds in greenhouse gases. Oh yeah, that's another thing. And on which much of eastern Russia is built. As permafrost thaws, its methane back into the atmosphere, causing chasms in the earth. Laptop HP 430. Okay. I was watching a video on oh, Jesus Christ. And it was labeled as the director's cut as opposed to what the theatrical release. Like there's some porn director out there bitching and moaning about how the studio butchered his masterpiece. You have some rabid fan base like Zack Snyder's demanding they release the gangbang video as it was originally intended. It was the color grading on the Jesus Christ. Are you serious? That's fucking funny. That's funny. That's funny. I don't quite veer into that sort of a stuff, but yeah, that's pretty funny. Wow. It's God. Funny. But yeah, the methane thing is also a big problem with the permafrost melting. Again, methane is a global warming gas, right? So it's not just diseases, it's also, I know, right? That's you know, people are people. Probably just sharing something so that you know, they can kind of catch on to the keyword thing for Zack Snyder director's cut and the director's cuts and that sort of thing. Probably a marketing ploy. But yeah, so the permafrost melting, they're saying here, is causing chasms in the earth. Besides the deleterious effects of more greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, the permafrost melting destabilizes the Siberian earth, unsettling building foundations and causing landslides. It also exposes the frozen carcasses of many Ice Age mammals, meaning paleontologists have to work fast to study the species that thrived when the planet was much colder. For all the talk of reanimating the woolly mammoth, one's got to remember the place they knew is long gone. You assy. The same region also suffered through a heat wave that led to a very un-Siberian air temperature reading of 100 degrees Fahrenheit, 38 degrees Celsius, exactly a year ago to the day from the new freak heat. It's the hottest temperature ever recorded in the region. It was also in the 90s last month in western Siberia, reflecting that the sweltering new abnormal is affecting just about everywhere, and it's not just the permafrost suffering. The wildfires last year in Siberia pumped a record amount of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, ensuring more summers like this are to come. Oh, USA, okay. Yes, USA. Yeah, it's, so all these articles all kind of touched on this similar things, and it's important, and it's doomer. Okay. Climate change sucks, but let's jump into something even more, even just as fun. The history of the United States, our independence, and how fucking racist it really is. All right. Any more questions, comments on the climate change thing, as I've dropped a whole shitload of doomerism on y'all? And we can move on to this more fun stuff. Yes, we need to work quickly. And again, the Biden administration, if it's not tens of trillions of dollars on infrastructure deal, it's ridiculous. It's just a fucking waste of time. Which is, of course, what Democrats are. A waste of time. Again, like I say in my resource-based economy post, right, if the United States is not willing to stop being the largest global terrorist in the world and shift from weaponry to livingry, then humanity is doomed. We have the largest country in the world, the richest, the most powerful. If the United States chose to save humanity from extinction, not saying that they can do it by themselves, but if they were the vanguard, the clarion call for the world to step forward to save humanity from extinction, that would change everything. Hands on fire, governments shrug with their shoulder. No worries, you have rights. You have all rights to be doomer. Exactly. Bitch about it, but not too much because you're now labeled a domestic terrorist. Right? Specifically climate activists. So the U.S. would need to abolish itself. Well, to an extent, yeah. I mean, we have to radically transform it from a global terrorist organization to a global climate activist or country. That's pretty much exactly right. Transgender woman won a beauty contest in the United States. Okay, awesome. Good. I'm just slightly torn on this just from the competition aspect, but I need to research that more. I read some article on the ACLU to give me more perspective on it, but ultimately, hey, she's transgender, she's beautiful. What the fuck are we to say about it? All right. The willful self-delusion of American Independence Day. The United States has endeavored toward but rarely lived up to ideals. Enough is enough. Yeah, well, actually, no. I mean, we've lived up to our ideals. Olympics not being bigots. Next, please. Right? Yeah, what was it? A black lady was booted from something because she smoked pot or something like that. I haven't covered this. You have an article on it? Yeah, for weed. Yeah, if you have an article on it, go and throw it in here, and I'll pop it up real quick. So I can't remember what she was in, but it's ridiculous. Two were yeeted for too high testosterone levels. Both were cis. I'm against only one thing: transgenders in sports, especially in women's sports, because it's cheating. Yeah, and that's the only thing that I've been torn about. But there's this article by the ACL talking about this, and it kind of moved me a little bit. Hold on a second, my daughter's being loud. Okay, sorry, the daughter doesn't seem to understand that I'm streaming. Oh crap, now I broke it. Hold on. Oh, there we go. Okay. All right. So, all right. So the United States has lived up to its ideals, right? The Constitution is misogynistic, classist, racist. We're very much all those things. Now they talk a good game, but when you look at the actual writing, we're living up to it quite well. And you may disagree, but I still think that if talk about sportsmen are really strong, well, they tend to be. That's tends to be genetics, but they're within the wide genetic variation of genders, genders in and of itself, but also the physicality. There are some women, there are women who are that are skilled and strong enough that beat men. I mean, it's a thing. It's a thing. And I've been thinking about this sort of a thing. I've considered abolishing gender-based sports, the gender separation of sports in general, and just having, maybe you'll have weight classes or something like that for the things or something. But, if we get rid of the gender separation for all sports, that'll solve most of this problem altogether. It's the gender separation that honestly creates this problem in the first place. As a thought, I haven't really put a whole lot of thought into this as a thing yet. Okay, on Independence Day, many Americans celebrate throwing off the yoke of oppression by a distant power. They recall the unfairness and indignity of life under colonial rule. What too many Americans haven't done is reckon with the fact that the founders of our nation were colonizers, not colonize, and that in the 245 years since declaring its independence, the United States has only expanded the scope of its imperial domination. Right, and it shifted from Britain being the global, colonizer power to the United States being the white global colonizing power. While systemic white supremacy and the state's use of violence against people of color in this country is at the forefront of the national debate, the structural racism of U.S. foreign policy has escaped serious scrutiny. Yeah, and that I agree with. And I've talked about this here as well. I haven't gone into too much detail, but there's the systemic and structural racism inherent to our country is also mirrored in our foreign policy, much like I was talking about earlier, right? Africa and India and Middle East, they're not poor. They never have been. It's just the West, in our racist foreign policy, has been stealing everything from them. That's the systemic and structural racism inherent to our foreign policy. And again, you see this with the vaccines, right? The West got all the vaccines. We didn't open source the vaccines, right? And that sort of thing. That is the systemic and structural racism inherent to our foreign policy. It's all in there. You have to look for it. That was a kind of a mind blow for me. I came into that concept a few years ago. I was like, oh fuck yeah, that's a thing. Holy shit. And once you kind of make that leap from systemic and structural racism here as a domestic issue, and that it's present also in our foreign policy, it's like, oh, okay. Women swimmers or tennis players that I saw in real life, I was a little scared. They have such strong hands. My bicep is only little. Yeah, I mean, when you train for a sport for a living, I mean, you keep yourself fit and you keep yourself strong. You try and keep the muscle groups that are appropriate for your sport, to where they're supposed to be. So you have that competitive edge. Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a thing. Yet two are deeply and immutably linked. It is precisely through its brutal history of genocide and slavery that the U.S. government learned to use violence and military force to make white people secure their positions of privilege and domination in home and abroad. Now this, I wouldn't say it's the U.S. It's part of our history because we are from Britain and the other European countries who did that. It's not just like the United States and its history, but the history that precedes the creation of the United States and everything else. Seemed to me that if one of them waved their hand, I would fly away. Yeah, it's amazing what, when people focus on, physicality in a sport and stuff like that, how strong our bodies can be. Like Simone Biles, if that's her name, how fucking amazing she is and how she's wrecking. I don't want to say wrecking. How she's setting a new standard for gymnastics. I mean, they don't know what the fuck to do with her because she's so amazing. She's doing things that have never ever been done before. They don't even have a rating system that can capture how fucking awesome she is. Right? I mean, when people are really focused and have the support and the training, it's amazing what their bodies can do. I mean, the human body is an amazing thing when it has the support it needs to get there. It's amazing. American exceptionalism is grounded in racism and militarism. It posits that the United States is a unique force for good in the world, exempt from international laws and norms it expects other nations to follow. Yep. And is thus entitled to kill or subdue those who disobey its orders. It has resulted in U.S. bombings and assassinations of people of color around the world, criminalized as terrorists, or otherwise defined as dangerous others. Exorbitant Pentagon spending and expansive global network of military bases, and a system that gives sole authority to the U.S. president to decide whether to annihilate the planet. At its heart, U.S. national security doctrine assumes that the lives of white Americans are more valuable than those of others, and that we, quote, can make ourselves more secure by making them less secure. Yep. Tennis is interesting to watch, and our tennis players are not bad, though. Sabalenka, Azarenka, and we have Mirny. Okay, yeah, I haven't watched tennis in such a long time. I really enjoy it because, my father and I played for years, and it's pretty amazing what these guys can do. I was okay at tennis, but my biggest issue is when power serving. I was never consistent. I could do power serving, and it was amazing, but I could never be consistent at it, and it sucked. It sucked. The foreign policy establishment sees the primary threats to national security as military in nature and emanating from outside U.S. borders. No matter that the greatest existential threats are climate change and nuclear catastrophe, nor that pandemic, disease, rising inequality, militarized and racist policing, and gun violence, the burdens of which all fall heaviest on black, indigenous, and otherwise non-white people, pose far greater dangers to American lives than do any imagined threats from China, Russia, Iran, or global terrorism. Like American football, do you have? Yeah, the Green Bay Packers, green and gold. I that's the only football I'll actually watch. I'll watch Packer games on occasion if I get the chance, or I'll watch the Super Bowl. I'll watch the Super Bowl just to see it, but that's pretty much it. Green Bay Packers. Can't walk. I can't walk fast enough for playing tennis. You're not supposed to walk playing tennis. You're supposed to run, dude. Come on, sports properly. Tennis racket's heavy. It is, and it was pretty amazing going from tennis to racquetball. Because the racket for racquetball is light, and you're inside this room and you're running around like a fucking maniac. I mean, you go from playing racquetball to tennis again. Tennis is so fucking slow. God, is it slow? And the racket is heavy. I mean, it's like it was hard to play tennis. We didn't do very much after we started playing racquetball, but God, it's so slow once you get done playing racquetball. So again, yeah, here. Climate change, inequality, war, racism, gun violence. These are all problems that are much more important than the other stuff. Than what's happening globally. Because we fix ourselves, then we can help fix the world by setting example and that sort of a thing. The consequences of this doctrine have been devastating. Current U.S. foreign policy is destabilizing the world and robbing it of resources needed to achieve human development, human security, human rights, and human dignity. True statement. The surest way to protect American lives is to eliminate poverty and hunger. True statement. Achieve racial and gender equality. True statement. Reverse climate change, create fair and humane systems for migration, develop a robust global capacity to prevent pandemic disease, build an open and inclusive multi-ethnic, multiracial democracy at home, and establish peaceful and cooperative relationships with other nations. None of these goals can be achieved through military force. Yeah, and this is all very, very correct. Very good stuff here. I didn't understand why they screaming like that. They were waving a sword, but then I realized, oh yeah, just you make, especially with a racquetball, you're making lots of noise. I mean, I scream like a girl. My family makes fun of me like that, especially when we were playing racquetball fairly actively. But yeah, you put so much effort in there, racquetball or tennis, when you're whacking that ball. Yeah, lots of noise. It's a noisy, noisy sport. To keep all people safe, regardless of race, nationality, gender, sexual orientation, gender identity, and other factors, U.S. leaders must renounce the quest for global dominance and pursue a strategy of global solidarity, which is what my policies are about. I scream like a seagull. Own it. Be the seagull guy. That's cool. Yeah, and this is exactly what policies are all about. Global solidarity. Need to support human rights, support climate rights, destroy inequality. That's exactly what we need to do. This is a very good article. They must reject the lie that there is hierarchy of human value in which some lives are worth more than others, and the myth that violence is a necessary and effective means for achieving political ends. Yeah, that's pointing to interdependence, right? Which is good. Not in our name. Should they conduct military aggression, impose devastating economic sanctions, squander public resources on exorbitant Pentagon budgets, criminalize refugees and migrants, turn America's cities into battlefields, or threaten to use nuclear weapons? Agreed. A more ethical, effective, and peaceful approach to the world begins with acknowledging, apologizing for, and making amends for the genocides of Native American peoples and the enslavement of Africans over many generations. It's like this guy is reading my policies. Agreed. Part of reparations isn't just about Africa, it's also about the Native Americans as well. And that's why, at least for me, the reparations thing is a little more complicated. Oh, he thought I was. Yeah. Is it unfrozen now? Am I moving? Yeah, it's a little bit laggy on mine actually. I have it open here. It is a little bit. Yeah, I'm definitely not getting 30 frames. 60 frames there. It's not showing I'm dropping anything. But I'm definitely not getting 30 frames. Okay. Still here. All right. Let's see. It requires the termination of current U.S. wars, including those conducted by drones, airstrikes, and targeted assassinations, and the revocation of their open-ended authorizations. It involves significantly reducing the size of the Pentagon budget and paring back the global network of U.S. military bases that serve as springboards for aggression. Like, this was on my site. Internet isn't bad. Okay, all right. Yeah, this guy sounds like he's reading my policies. This is exactly right. The United States must join the international consensus by signing, ratifying, and complying with major treaties and agreements, especially those that prohibit nuclear weapons. That's in my policies. Eliminate discrimination against women, protect the rights of children, set legal frameworks for the use of world's oceans, my policies, and establish the International Criminal Court. These changes will enable the U.S. to address the far more serious challenges to global human security with diligence, resources, and sense of urgency they require. Only when that happens will the unalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness be secured for all. Yeah, this is good stuff. This is, it's pretty much, it's kind of a summary of what my policies really talk about. Again, the United States decides to be, to participate in saving humanity from extinction. They can do that, but it requires all these changes that my policies, they all talk about. Good stuff. It's good to know that I'm not, someone else thinks like I am, and I'm not off my rocker. I am, but just not quite as bad as I might possibly be. Okay, there's that. What are we at? 30. Okay, 4:30. All right. Any questions, comments, suggestions on that before we move on? Nope, get back here. This post here is a follow-up to the ProPublica thing. So we covered that last week. It's like a fucking hour read, like the previous ProPublica one. But this is from the Washington Post talking about the. This is Elon Musk. I have the scripts turned off so it messes with the pictures. All right. So any comments on this post here by the Nation in America and how we're fucked in the brain? Whew. All right. Is it time to limit personal wealth? Well, I think we know what that answer is, right? So let's see what they have to say. This is from June 12th, last month. Feels weird, man. It does, doesn't it? Let's see what they have to say. Now it's okay to hoard billions of dollars and start a space race for fun. Yeah, I was actually. Do I have an article on that? I think I had an article on that in here. Do I? I don't. But I've seen that, and I've shared that on Twitch and Facebook too. Yeah. If there's a space race between billionaires, perhaps it's a time to actually tax the wealthy, right? Yeah, exactly. Eggs, fucking exactly. Warren, I'm ready to start. Just give me at least a bit, right? Oh yeah, sign me up for that one too. Fuck yeah. Give me the billions, and then tax the shit out of me. Sign me the fuck up. If you find that list, make sure to put me on it. Warren Buffett has an effective tax rate of 0.1%. Yawn. Elon Musk didn't pay federal taxes at all in 2018. Okay. America's billionaires pay a lower tax rate than the working class. Didn't we hear this last year? The most shocking thing about ProPublica's extensive report, which we went over 2 weeks ago, I think, on the leaked tax returns of the super rich wasn't what the report contained. It was the fact that we're barely shocked anymore. After examining a trove of tax returns spanning more than 15 years, the journalism nonprofit reported this week that America's billionaires were legally keeping their tax bills low by declaring minuscule amounts of taxable income relative to their rapidly expanding fortunes. ProPublica calculated that from 2014 to 2018, the 25 richest Americans paid taxes equal to only 3.4% of their gain in wealth. They paid an effective tax rate of only 3.4% of their gain in wealth over that period. But if multi-billionaires pay, as a share of their net worth, virtually nothing in income taxes and sometimes pay nothing at all, we as a society let them do it. Yes, this is a policy failure, of course. I mean, of course, it's the way it's meant to be because the millionaires and billionaires, the corporations control our government, right? And when we went through both of those ProPublica articles, we kind of talked about some of the ways that they can engage in tax mitigation strategies, right? Creating corporations, and we read that one article about the Roth IRA from last week. Recommendations for the Washington Post: stop standing billionaires. Then, if you think they shouldn't exist, goddamn Bezos paper. Oh yeah, that's right. He does own this. Yeah. Well, mainstream media, they're propaganda machines for the 1%. They just throw these out on occasion, just to say, see, we're journalism, even though we show for them for the rest of the time, right? Yes, every billionaire is a policy failure, but more than that, every billionaire is a failure of our own moral imagination. True statement. Or as I say, in any society where there is poverty, if there is a non-zero level of poverty, then that society, socioeconomic system is a complete and total failure. Full stop. But this is also a part of that on the other end. We could also say, in any society where there is a non-zero number of millionaires, billionaires is also a socioeconomic failure. Most of the response to the ProPublica report has been to argue about how to tinker with our current tax regime. In response to enormous displays of inequality, we trot out new stratagems to make billionaires toss us back just a few more dollars. Should we tax capital gains at a higher rate, raise the corporate tax rate, create wealth tax? I'd vote yes to all three. Yep, my policies do all that. But these debates are small bore. They won't do away with wealth inequality of a truly incomprehensible kind, the sort that allows Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, who also owns the Post, but they do mention that here for clarity, which is good, to engage in their own private space race while a global pandemic pushes more than 100 million people into extreme poverty. Maybe guys who know who the hell black people have a spotless white teeth. Probably they use toothpaste. Well, toothpaste, of course. Yeah, I mean, same as everyone else. Toothpaste and flossing. But these debates, okay, there we go. So instead of debating tweaks at the edges of our tax system, what we should be doing is stretching ourselves to imagine a world where this dissonance is truly incomprehensible, a world where billionaires are impossible. Okay, where the fuck are you guys going with this? Doing so would require a revised conception of what is good and what is fair, an approach focused less on what is allowed and more on what is enough. Okay. Does that sound far-fetched? Such a philosophy already exists. It's called libertarianism. Okay, I've not ever heard of this. As the director of the Fair Limits Project at Utrecht University in the Netherlands, philosopher Ingrid Mayans argues that this is not morally permissible to have more resources than are needed to fully flourish in life. Okay, so you can really look at libertarianism as kind of the ideology of resource-based economy, right? It's to everyone to what we can equitably provide. Maybe you should use a lacolet. I have no idea what that is. A lacolet. What is that? I don't know, man. Just as there is a poverty line under which we agree that no one should fall, libertarianism holds that one can construct a wealth line over which no one should rise, and that the world will be better off for it. Okay, and that's what my policies talk about, right? We have a minimum wage and a maximum wage, right? That's what my policies are doing. Libertarianism doesn't depend on a specific number. The crucial point is to debate not where the line can be drawn, but whether it makes sense. And just considering this idea forces a radical and exciting revision of how we consider the problems of inequality that ProPublica's reporting reveals, and pushes us to ask new questions about the axioms by which we have agreed to live. Agreed. For instance, what does it say about us that we have agreed to live with chasms so vast and that we continue to ignore the connection between extreme wealth and immiseration? Why do we so commonly assume that material wealth is a clear signifier of worth? Yep, these are good questions. That's exactly right. And again, my policies talk about this sort of stuff. We need to have different metrics by which we judge how well we are doing, not just as individuals, but as a society. Again, wealth, toothpaste. They used to have an ad with a black guy who pronounced the name of their company being with a spotless white teeth. It might not just be that. I mean, it could also be, Photoshop or, filtering and that sort of thing too. Could be both. Yeah. Just brush your damn teeth. Floss. Again, so this is a values issue, right? And this is what policies are all about. Changing our values. We need different metrics. We shouldn't be judging how well people are doing by how much money they make, but how much of a difference they make in making the world a better place for humanity, or how they're doing for the natural world. This isn't just, you shouldn't just be doing this on an individual level, but also on a national, state, city level as well. If you look at my policies, the economies for the common good is kind of that, conceptual doorway to doing just that. I'm going to throw that in there. Take a look at that. There's that video in there from TED Talks, which is really great. You can watch that too to get a better idea of what economies for a common good really is. In 2018, the ProPublica report tells us that the 25 people at the top of Forbes' annual list of the wealthiest Americans are worth a combined $1.1 trillion, equal to the combined wealth of 14.3 million typical wage earners. Bezos and other billionaires may be uncommonly smart, talented, and hardworking, but it's doubtful they work that much harder than everyone else. Right, but they, all their families are rich, and they all had that start, and they had the privilege of being from rich families and getting money to start out and all that sort of stuff. Some of it is hard work, of course, but a lot of it is just the birth lottery. Why do we assume that individuals should be allowed to keep as much money as they can grab, and how responsible are we for one another? What would happen if we limited the accumulation of great wealth, and what would happen? What would a happy medium look like? Surely the prospect of having only $999 million would not stop innovators in their tracks, and even if it did stop some, would the trade-off be so bad? That sorts of questions are numerous, complicated, and more difficult to answer than they first appear, but the real value of this latest revelation about wealth and taxes is that it forces us to start asking them. Okay, so the economies for the common good thing, they talk about that sort of thing directly in the video. They have done, the guy Christian Fells, I think is his name, who started this whole movement. That he's gone around the world, like I think more than 50 countries, and he's done this exercise saying, so what is the maximum amount of wealth or inequality should there be? And typically it ends up at ×9 or ×10 for most places, and that's why policies use ×9. Although I do have a maximum wage built in, right? So yes, this is good. It's interesting that they're willing to ask the question, but they didn't go in and actually talk about what those limits should look like, who's talking about it, maximum wage, right? Economies for common good. Of course, they don't want to give us the answer, because then they, like saying Bezos owns this, because then it might adversely affect Bezos. Can't be too effective in getting people to think. All right. So yes, maximum wage. at $675,000, 100% marginal tax rate. We need to get rid of the wall between wealth and income, and then we need to have a wealth tax. Start taking that stuff down. I have an 8% wealth tax, and yeah, the maximum wage. Like, yep, if you're gaining money from lotteries or from inheritance, that gets applied as income to the maximum wage. All right, so this one, so any questions, comments on that concept? Now, I have this article up here because when I talk about resource-based economy, I talk about the having a glut, just everyone educated. You know, a highly educated populace is the core of how resource-based economy really does a lot of its magic. Well, that and of course, high levels of equality everywhere. And cooperation, all that sort of stuff. But education is a big part of this. So this is a pretty interesting, should be a pretty interesting article. Let's see, just to see what they have to say. Now, obviously, what they're going to talk about here is going to be colored with the issues within capitalism. But let's see what they have to say in here. Can too many brainy people be a dangerous thing? Some academics argue that unhappy elites lead to political instability. Okay, so using this word elites is, I don't like it because, yeah, whoever they're talking about, they're not elite. They're not elite. Okay, this is from October 2020, so this is last year. 10 years ago, Peter Turchin, a scientist at the University of Connecticut, made a startling prediction in Nature. The next decade is likely to be a period of growing instability in the United States and Western Europe. No shit, Sherlock. He started pointing in part to the overproduction of young graduates with advanced degrees. Okay. Subsequent surge in populism in Europe, the expected votes in 2016 for Brexit and then for President Donald Trump in America, and a wave of protests from the Gilets jaunes to Black Lives Matter has made Mr. Turchin something of a celebrity in certain circles and has piqued economists' interest in the discipline of cliodynamics. Okay, that's a new one, which uses math to model historical change. Okay, Mr. Turchin's emphasis on the overproduction of elites raises uncomfortable questions, but also offers useful policy lessons. Is any of these policy questions about reducing inequality? Let us see. As far back as ancient Rome and Imperial China, Mr. Turchin shows societies have veered from periods of political stability to instability, often at intervals of 50 years. Consider America. Oh, defund the left? Okay. Crappy name, but thank you so much for the follow. Hopefully you found our doomerism here good, but how are you doing today? Every pundit knows that Congress has become gridlocked with Democrats and Republicans unwilling to compromise with each other. Fewer know that it was also highly polarized around 1900 before becoming more cooperative in the mid-20th century. Witch funds, right. Yeah, there was a book talking about this. I think we went over this article a little while ago, probably a few months ago, talking about the cycles that we go through. And it might be talking about this 50-year cycle or something like that. I can't remember. What causes these lurches from calm to chaos? Mr. Turchin views societies as large, complex systems that are subject to certain patterns, if not laws. That is an entirely different approach from much of academic history, with its preference for small-scale microcosmic studies, argues Niall Ferguson of Stanford University. In a paper published this year, Mr. Turchin, with Andrei Korotayev of the Higher School of Economics in Russia, examines the prediction of instability he made in 2010. His forecast model contains many elements, but like Karl Marx, Mr. Turchin seems to believe that the history of all hitherto existing society is the history of class struggles. Okay, true. Where Marx focuses on the proletariat, though, Mr. Turchin is more interested in the elite, how its members struggled against each other. Okay, interesting. And again, how they struggle against each other is a feature of the socioeconomic system, having money as a thing. which is a sense everything is inherently competitive. Who counts as the elite and how competition manifests itself varies from place to place. One example could be a large number of highly educated folk relative to the number of government offices and therefore jobs. But a struggle is most likely when economic inequality is high, of course. Hearing Marx, nice reading this cursor article on the side. You're not paying 150% attention to me? I'm insulted. I'm so insulted, man. 3 reasons millennials should ditch Karl Marx. Oh, Jesus. Okay, that's going to be fun to read. Fun to read. But a struggle is most likely when economic inequality is high. Of course, the rewards for being at the top are especially lucrative, both in terms of earning power and political influence, and those who miss out feel their loss more keenly. I know, right? It must have been a libertarian site, a libertarian think tank that shared that. The feeling of resentment is particularly strong among people brought up to believe that they ought to be in the elite, where still societies tend to produce ever more would-be elites, in part because access to education tends to improve over time. Mr. Turchin sees all this as a recipe for political chaos. Articulate, educated people rebel, producing a scramble for political and economic power. Elites stop cooperating, counter-elites emerge, and order breaks down. Yeah, again, this is why there's this massive war in education and why they don't want a highly educated populace. Because it can produce people who understand what's going on and start fighting against it, fighting against the exploitation. The argument undoubtedly papers over historical nuance, yet focusing on dissatisfied elites is not a bad way of understanding political instability. Hugh Trevor Roper, a historian, noted that social crises are caused not by the clear-cut opposition of mutually exclusive interests, but by the tug-of-war of opposite interest within one body. Of course. I mean, if two bodies which don't interact, it's hard for them to interact with each other. The French Revolution was not primarily the product of misery, but instead of a battle between underemployed educated class and hereditary landowners. Okay, so they're talking within one class. Okay, historians identify the problem of an excess of educated men as contributing to Europe's revolutions of 1848. Okay, Mr. Turchin suggests that those slavery was the proximate cause of the American Civil War. More fundamental one was a resentment from up-and-coming northern capitalists towards stuck-in-their-ways southerners. Okay, did slavery have anything to do with it? Okay. Elite overproduction can also help explain the malaise gripping the rich world of late. It has become extraordinarily difficult for a young person to achieve elite status, even if she works hard and goes to the best university. House prices are so high that only inheritors stand a chance of emulating the living conditions of their parents. The power of a few superstar firms means that there are few genuinely prestigious jobs around. Mr. Turchin reckons that each year America produces some 25,000 surplus lawyers. Over 30% of British graduates are overeducated relative to their jobs. Okay, yep. Yeah, and we look at those things, there's these memes saying they want people working at McDonald's or some place like that with, a bachelor's degree, 10 years experience, and only making $10 an hour. You gotta be fucking kidding me. Yeah, and this is part of this problem is that we have so many shit jobs, and people are becoming lawyers because that's where money is. It's all about the monies. All this goes some way to explaining an apparently puzzling trend. Why apparently well-off people are drawn to radicalism. Under Jeremy Corbyn, Britain's Labour Party attracted more upper middle and middle class folk than it used to, even as it moved further left from the Tories. Its lead among recent graduates was clear. Joe Biden's lead over Bernie Sanders, go fuck yourself, you bastards, In opinion polls during the Democratic primaries is far smaller among college-educated Americans than among those who did not finish high school. Yeah, there was no bias there, right? Predicting an earthquake. Mr. Turchin's theories predict that political tremors eventually subside. Sooner or later, most people begin to yearn for the return of stability and an end to the fighting. Vote blue no matter who, right? He argues, already the data show that support for both left and right-wing populist parties in Europe is waning. Polls suggest Mr. Trump will soon be voted out of office. Another option for those looking to avoid instability is to reduce the number of aspiring elites. Boris Johnson, Britain's prime minister, has pressed for better vocational education, saying that we need to recognize that a significant and growing minority of young people leave the university and work in a non-graduate job. Okay, so concentrating on making sure vocation is equally available as college, sure, that's a good thing. That's kind of my policies also kind of go to do that as well. But highly educated people isn't the problem. Having a lot of highly educated people isn't the problem. It's the fact that they don't have something to do with their education, right? They don't have a way of making money or supporting themselves while engaging in something that they are passionate about. This is an economic issue, right? If we had progressive basic income, if we had universal health care, if we had universal education and support of that nature, especially globally, then these people who have degrees could start creating their own business, creating their own projects to work towards, using their degree in a way that that they are passionate about. But it's hard to do and to even make a difference when you have large-scale global firms who wreck and control everything. The lack of ability to make a difference due to corporate, supranational corporate conglomerates controlling and destroying everything. Yet, enlightened elites can prevent the emergence of political instability in more effective ways. In the early 20th century, American reformers raised inheritance taxes to prevent the emergence of hereditary aristocracy. Yep, that's good. My policies do that. And engaged in massive trust busting. Yep, modernizing urban planning systems could lower housing costs and deregulating labor markets. Go fuck yourself. Be good jobs for excess elites. Mr. Turchin's analysis of structural forces governing societies is an intriguing explanation of political unrest. But cliodynamics need not be destiny. It all boils down again to destroying inequality and making sure that our people have access to making a difference in this world. And that's not going to be done while corporations and the rich control everything. We need to destroy inequality with an absolute, total fucking vengeance. Again, UBI, healthcare, housing, all that sort of stuff gives these people the ability to do what they want to do with their education instead of just accepting shitty jobs that no one fucking wants to do. Automation and opportunity. That's what we need. And that's what my policies do. All right. We're almost at that 2-hour mark, my peeps. Questions, comments, suggestions? I'll give everyone this chance, last chance for comments. Yeah, have a great weekend. Thanks for staying up, dude. I appreciate you, being up this late and listening to me. It's fucking almost 1 o'clock there. Get some sleep. Tomorrow we're going over to a friend's place. We'll be outside. Because, oh my god, my wife, of course, wants us to just be inside. Our friends also we miss dearly also want us to be inside, but I'm like, no, the only way. I mean, they're amazing people. I really miss. We're going to the family where we had our weekly gaming nights. You can fuck off. That might be. The Packers have had a rough go of it, and yeah, it's been a rough year or two. It's been tough. I really enjoyed when almost a decade ago when they brought in the new teams like the Packers and the Titans and the Jaguars and stuff like that. It was pretty cool. But yeah, I don't know. I haven't watched the Packers in quite a while. I've talked to my nephew who's he's really into the sports and stuff like that, just to figure out what the hell's going on with them because I have no clue, no clue whatsoever. But yeah, so we're gonna go over there tomorrow for 4th of July, and we'll be outside and we'll probably play a game outside and stuff like that. So release, safe, watch the fireworks, and that's what's up for me tomorrow. It's gonna be hot, it's gonna be sweaty, but at least I'll be with people that I actually enjoy being around. So that's what's up for me. Yeah, there we go. And I also have Monday off as well for 4th of July. I guess we have Mondays off if it falls on a Sunday. All right, anyone else? Questions, comments, suggestions for calls today? And thanks again, all of you, for gifting me with your time and participating and listening to me fucking babble about we're all gonna fucking die and all that sort of stuff, because we are. If you want to support me, you got my Patreon below. You can go to Facebook, Twitter. You can share my blog, my policies, my Discord. Another way to support me is you can share my Twitch stream to people, my blog, share my policies. You can share my Patreon as well. Say, hey, this guy's cool. Check him out. Word of mouth is one of the most effective methods of advertising. So if you want to do that, I won't complain. Yoda, yes. Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah. I do 2 hours today. I do 2 hours Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. I do 3 to 5 here on Saturdays. Did you have anything you want to talk about before we call this a day? Because you caught me right as I was ending the stream. Since you were so kind to drop in, I really appreciate. What you got? What you got for me? Okay. You can. I mean, you're here. I mean, if you got anything, go ahead and say it. Talked about a lot of doomerism thing for climate change. We talked about the Mayans and the Aztecs, when those societies ended. Talked about capitalism a little bit here. Wealth tax, American horror stories. In Discord, and in the Reddit stream, I'll share what we went over, so you can, if you want to check what links we went over, I'll have that done probably later on today. So you take a look at that if you like. And it'll be it's on YouTube as well. If you find my YouTube channel, this is recorded there as well. If you want to take a look there. Yoda! Is that like a battle cry? Like spoon from the Tick? I haven't seen that in such a long time. God, I think I was a kid the last time I saw the Tick as a cartoon. I never saw the live action one. It's pretty funny. Anybody, anything? Okay. All right, again, thank you guys so much for your time. Again, you can share my stuff, support me down below. Have a great weekend, everyone. And I stream on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5 Central, and Saturdays at 3 Central. So everyone have a great weekend, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Just me and you, let's make up all the rules. Count to 10 and watch the stars turn blue. Watch the stars. We're all dreamers in our own way, trying to find out